Hey there, and welcome to the second episode of Learning How to DJ. As you know, this is another part of, kind of the project Twin Serpent. It is my trying to acquire the skill of DJing, and if you do recall, and I've already created one video about 1.5 months ago, which has been titled DJing for about learning how to DJ, and basically showed my progress 1.5 months in, and now that pretty much the third month of this year has been completed, I decided to take another video and kinda give you a rough overview about what has been happening thus far, how far I've progressed, and just kinda to show you also how much time I've spent in an approximate manner in terms of trying to actually DJ. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you a little bit about Obsidian because I've noted down some things, and then I'd like to jump into Rise to kinda give you a timely overview, like to give you the hours, respectively minutes, that I've roughly invested into this kinda aspiration of mine. So let's go. Okay, so we are in Obsidian, and as you can see, this is the overview about my DJing adventure. And yeah, the last video has been created on the 15th of February, and we'll just go on from there, and I'll just give you a really brief overview about what has been happening thus far. So yeah, as you can see, I've pretty much jammed most of the time. Also throughout the next days. On the Friday, I've bought 98 tracks, started editing metadata, kind of organizing it. Many tracks, like all are still related to drum and bass. I do plan on taking up other genres in the future, since I also throughout the past years I've also listened to other genres quite intensively. Mostly like tech house, bass house, and stuff like that. Also sometimes psytrance. And yeah, this is just an overview about what I've bought. And then moving on to the basically next week, I've I kinda started also sorting out my tracks, sorting out in terms of putting the grids correctly and setting some cue points, but this has happened later on and not all at once. Anyway, during week 8, I took things a little bit more serious. Still haven't really gotten that much into harmonic mixing, meaning that like there's certain keys, respectively called progressions, within tracks, and if you try to kind of orient yourself by these through these means, then you're more likely to get something, to get good sounding transitions, respectively, a nice mix. But yeah, as you can see, I've continued on jamming, bought some new tracks, organized them, start putting them more cue points, and yeah, during week 9, I've started downloading about 33 remixes, bootlegs specifically, and yeah, of course, as always, I try to organize them as soon as possible. And yeah, I noticed that on Tuesday, the 28th of February, I noticed that some of the metadata of all the tracks hasn't been correctly read by Rekordbox, respectively, hasn't been correctly labeled by the people who uploaded them. And yeah, I just continue on throughout the week by putting on some cue points, mixing, and yeah, just the usual business. Apart from that, like at the beginning of March, I noticed some really nice improvements. I started messing around a little bit more, played around with chopping, which is basically like when one of the volume faders is, like, imagine mixing two tracks simultaneously, and then there's like a specific part of one track that you would really like to highlight. Then you just try to put one of the volume faders down so that, for example, only the lyrics are audible. So yeah, that's what I've been getting into and have been practicing also. Other than that, yeah, I'm still making some rookie mistakes, but really not as frequently as about 3 weeks ago. Continued on jamming, then tried chopping up and playing a little bit around with fading out, and also messing around with double drops. For those of you that that don't usually listen to drum bass, drum and bass is a genre where it's usual that you're like mixing many tracks together and playing them out loud simultaneously. There's double dropping, like when a significant part of the track occurs, then you can overlay these tracks and play them together for a bit, and it's really wild. Yeah. Then I started getting into EQ mixing. So yeah, messing a bit around with the highs, with the mids, and yeah, continuing on jamming for a bit. Then I had my first sort of official gig. It was semi-official, not really actually official, because it was house party that I've hosted with some flatmates. And yeah, it was the first time that I've actually played in front of other people, and some people really enjoyed it. Most of the crowds that was present was not that much into drum and bass, like generally speaking. There were many people that are more into like pop tracks and stuff like that, but for me it was a really nice experience, and I was extremely nervous. I wasn't like when I actually played my tracks, I was really focused on just kind of trying to get everything right, and I was always a bit drunk, and yeah, it was a little bit I wasn't in a little bit of a negative mood, because I couldn't really grasp like how it sounded for other people. Like some of the people like my friends and some other people that I don't know told me that it was really good. But for me, it's like if I don't have like some sort of objective measurement, then it's it's sometimes hard for me to kind of gauge whether it actually sounded good or if people were just trying to be nice. But luckily for me, I've recorded the mix, and after listening to it a few days later on, I was content. So yeah, week 11, haven't really done that much. Only I started mixing once again on Friday, and rearranged some cue points, because yeah, there's still many things that I do need to rearrange probably in the future when I'm getting a better grasp on everything. Like for example, I do know from the top of my head that most of my tracks, specific cue points for most of my tracks, which have been set as outro, for example, may have not been properly set. So I might need to redo that in the future, but yeah, that's another topic. Anyway, continued mixing and really practiced a lot there, like 2 hours, 3.5 hours in the evening. Starting on the next week, during the next week, I've started on Tuesday and tried to really stick to one subgenre of drum bass, namely liquid, which is more mellow, and yeah, was kind of happy with it. And then I continued on reading how to DJ right, or rather I started reading how to DJ right, which is the second book that I've purchased. But as you can see, as I noticed, most of the time I just actually practiced and didn't really engage in cognitive activities in terms of like acquiring new pieces of information by means of reading. Other than that, yeah, this was a really bad day for me because I lost my USB stick in the train. Luckily, I had a backup from the 2nd of March, but I still had to redo many of my cue points. And so some hours of work have been lost due to this unfortunate mishap. On Saturday, I mixed for like 50 minutes, and then I tried sticking with Dance Floor D&B, and later on I set some more cue points. Now week 13, which is this week, I continued on mixing, of course, and I've started getting a little bit into sound effects, like just messing around with it a bit and just checking out some other buttons of my FLX4. And yeah, I'm also just really playing a little bit around with it. Other than that, throughout the week I've continued on mixing, tried really once again to stick to one subgenre, and yeah, I'm really getting there, like in terms of actually being faster, because one of actually being fast enough so as to not miss any transitions. Because the weeks, respectively months before, I noticed that there were many times throughout my mixing processes that I haven't really kept up with the speed of the track, and then it was just too slow to kind of transition. And yeah, I'm starting to get a feel and a grip on that. So yeah, throughout the rest of the week, I've started correcting some grids, some cue points, jamming a bit, and also throughout this whole journey, I've been listening to music really, really often. Like most of the day, when I don't have anything to do, I just put on the headphones, check out some new mixes or some new tracks, and yeah, that's basically what I've been up to thus far. Now on this day, Friday the 31st of March, I'm actually gonna try to buy some new tracks, mostly related to the subgenre Neurofunk, respectively techstep or darkstep. Still need to kinda get the wording right there, but it's basically a harder, rougher subgenre of drum and bass. And I've noticed that in my library I don't really have that many tracks pertaining to that subgenre. Most of the tracks that I currently own are either liquid or dance floor, like the majority of them are dance floor. But okay, now we're in Rise, and I just really want to briefly show you a rough approximation of the time that I've spent learning how to DJ. And of course, this does not include listening to music. I'd actually like to include that in the future as well, because I spent like pretty much most of the time, apart from mixing, I spent on listening to music. So yeah, let's start. As you can see, I've spent about 88 hours thus far. Started on the 1st of January, and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a quick look at that, and yeah, give you a monthly overview about that. As you can see, most of the time has been spent with tasks such as mixing and music preparations, at least during March. And yeah, during February I've also spent a lot of time mixing, and there have been some days where I haven't done anything, but on average, just like to give you a rough overview, on average I've spent at least 1 hour each day honing this craft. Yeah, January, mixing, some more organization, music preparation, stuff like that. Yeah, so this is just I just really wanted to give you a rough estimation of what how long you can actually, like, what type, which amount of time you need to kind of invest to sort of get to where I'm at right now. Yeah, so now let's just jump into the outro. As you can see, I've stuck to it thus far, and I really, really like it. It's like I spend most of the time actually practicing this. and listening to music, of course, which I have done on a regular basis for the past probably like 15 years or so. So I'm doing quite fine this far. Of course, there are many things that I really need to improve on, since I'm still really at the beginning of this whole journey. But this is something that you can actually, like, if you practice something, then after a while you notice that there are some small details that really need improvement on, and then you just experience all these different rabbit holes and all sorts of possible routes to go down, and all sorts of possible spaces which can be improved, or rather which can be refined. And so that's the same thing with DJing as in all other genres, or pardon me, it's the same for the it's a certain, let's say it's a certain pattern which is which can be found within all sorts of skill related fields, or rather the whole learning process is about noticing small details and trying to kind of improve on them, or just that's just what I wanted to say, that I'm still noticing many things that need improvement on. And at first it's like, you think that DJing is just turning some knobs and it's easy and stuff like that, and it's relatively easy to kind of get the basics. But if you're really keen on improving, and if you're really interested in honing this craft, then you notice that there's really a lot to it. Like the most of the thing is not even like mixing. It's like preparing your tracks, analyzing your tracks, listening to them, getting a feel for the tracks, and it's just it's absolutely amazing. And I hope that I could convey some of this knowledge, or rather some of this energy, or some of this hype to you. And what I've planned for the next weeks, respectively months, I've actually thought about my DJing name, namely Houdini, and I'd like to kind of create an online presence there, specifically dedicated towards it. I'd also like to kind of get out into the world, maybe introduce hopefully some other people to this beautiful genre, and in the future I'd also like to expand. As mentioned before, I'd like to get more into bass house, tech house in general, maybe also a little bit of trance, and we'll see how it goes. By the way, I don't know if I'll be able to upload this video today, because I'll probably take some time editing it, and I've also got some other things to do, but it will be it's gonna be uploaded either today on the 31st of March, or tomorrow on the 1st of April. So it's not gonna be a prank. Okay, I'll excuse myself. See you guys next time.